There was once a very beautiful girl called Akim. She was a native of Ibibio, and the name was given to her on account of her good looks, as she was born in the springtime. She was an only daughter, and her parents were extremely fond of her. The people of the town, and more particularly the young girls, were so jealous of Akim's good looks and beautiful form, for she was perfectly made, very strong, and her carriage, bearing, and manners were most graceful, that her parents would not allow her to join the young girls' society in the town, as is customary for all young people to do, both boys and girls belonging to a company according to their age. A company consisting, as a rule, of all the boys or girls born in the same year. Akim's parents were rather poor, but she was a good daughter and gave them no trouble, so they had a happy home. One day, as Akim was on her way to draw water from the spring, she met the company of 7 girls, to which in an ordinary way she would have belonged if her parents had not forbidden her. These girls told her that they were going to hold a play in the town in 3 days' time and asked her to join them. She said she was very sorry, but that her parents were poor and only had herself to work for them. She therefore had no time to spare for dancing and plays. She then left them and went home. In the evening, the 7 girls met together, and as they were very envious of Akim, they discussed how they should be revenged upon her for refusing to join their company. And they talked for a long time as to how they could get Akim into danger or punish her in some way. At last, one of the girls suggested that they should all go to Akim's house every day and help her with her work, so that when they had made friends with her, they would be able to entice her away and take their revenge upon her for being more beautiful than themselves. Although they went every day and helped Akim and her parents with their work, the parents knew that they were jealous of their daughter and repeatedly warned her not to go with them, as they were not to be trusted. At the end of the year, there was going to be a big play called the New Yam Play, to which Akim's parents had been invited. The play was going to be held at a town about 2 hours' march from where they lived. Akim was very anxious to go and take part in the dance, but her parents gave her plenty of work to do before they started, thinking that this would surely prevent her going, as she was a very obedient daughter and always did her work properly. On the morning of the play, the jealous 7 came to Akim and asked her to go with them, but she pointed to all the water pots she had to fill and showed them where her parents had told her to polish the walls with a stone and make the floor good. And after that was finished, she had to pull up all the weeds round the house and clean up all round. She therefore said it was impossible for her to leave the house until all the work was finished. When the girls heard this, they took up the water pots, went to the spring, and quickly returned with them full. They placed them in a row, and then they got stones, and very soon had the walls polished and the floor made good. After that, they did the weeding outside and the cleaning up, and when everything was completed, they said to Akim, "Now then, come along. You have no excuse to remain behind, as all the work is done." Akim really wanted to go to the play. So as all the work was done, which her parents had told her to do, she finally consented to go. About halfway to the town, where the New Yam Play was being held, there was a small river, about 5 feet deep, which had to be crossed by wading, as there was no bridge. In this river, there was a powerful juju, whose law was that whenever anyone crossed the river and returned the same way on the return journey, whoever it was had to give some food to the juju. If they did not make the proper sacrifice, the juju dragged them down and took them to his home and kept them there to work for him. The 7 jealous girls knew all about this juju, having often crossed the river before as they walked about all over the country and had plenty of friends in the different towns. Akim, however, who was a good girl and never went anywhere, knew nothing about this juju, which her companions had found out. When the work was finished, they all started off together and crossed the river without any trouble. When they had gone a small distance on the other side, they saw a small bird perched on a high tree who admired Akim very much and sang in praise of her beauty, much to the annoyance of the 7 girls. But they walked on without saying anything and eventually arrived at the town where the play was being held. Akim had not taken the trouble to change her clothes. But when she arrived at the town, although her companions had on all their best beads and their finest clothes, the young men and people admired Akim far more than the other girls, and she was declared to be the finest and most beautiful woman at the dance. They gave her plenty of palm wine, fufu, and everything she wanted, so that the 7 girls became more angry and jealous than before. The people danced and sang all that night, but Akim managed to keep out of the sight of her parents until the following morning, when they asked her how it was that she had disobeyed them and neglected her work. So Akim told them that the work had all been done by her friends, and they had enticed her to come to the play with them. Her mother then told her to return home at once and that she was not to remain in the town any longer. When Akim told her friends this, they said, "Very well, we are just going to have some small meal and then we will return with you." They all then sat down together and had their food. But each of the 7 jealous girls hid a small quantity of fufu and fish in her clothes for the water juju. However, Akim, who knew nothing about this, as her parents had forgotten to tell her about the juju, never thinking for one moment that their daughter would cross the river, did not take any food as a sacrifice to the juju with her.